We continue with our 25-lap Pro Spec Renault Top Gun Shootout. We are ready to go. Don King along with Neil Kennedy. J.V. Haney appreciating the winner of the last race, and we'll grab the winner of this race before we conclude. We get the green flag. Here we go. We're underway. Number 1, Keith Sharp had the top qualifying time. He and Rick Houston in car 6 on the front row.
And they're 3 abreast going down in there into turn 1, get lined out before they get around the corner. And we'll all hold our breath as they head for turn 2, that tight hairpin, the tightest turn on the course. This first lap when they're all so bunched up that the chances for something happening are greatest right now.
Sharp from Kirkwood, Missouri. 2-time Midwest champion. He leads the pack. And if well, obviously hardly anybody has ever raced these cars or been in a race, Neil, but the pressure to have all these cars behind you when you start a race like this is unbelievable.
Just you don't know if you want to have all those guys back there thinking what happens if I mess up and they come piling down on me, or would I rather be up here where I've got a clean track in front of me? Don't have to worry about some of them.
You feel like they're all pushing on you as you take off.
Drivers will tell you that start there, when they get that green flag for the start, that is the real adrenaline rush of the race. It takes you a couple laps to get settled in and get into a pace. Certainly we'll have to for this 25-lap race, but right now every man's heart out there is just pumping.
They're out of turn 7. They're coming up the Cannonball Baker straight here, soon to come into turn 8, and then quite a turn at turn 9. And then another pretty good straightaway before they go into 10 and 11 and then head to the front straightaway. The back part of the course, more straightaways than the front part.
At 10 and 11, very tricky. Off camber, a decreasing radius. It's not the same all the way around. It gets tighter as you come around it and really throws you off. The drivers work it like 2 separate corners to get around there quickly. And some drivers still say, I've never figured the fast way around that corner. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and you can really turn 11. You can start gaining speed out of turn 10 going into turn 11. You don't have to slow down all that much at turn 11, but it is very difficult. That is the shot out of turn 2, and there's your leader, number 1, Keith Sharp. Number 80 right behind him, Keith Brewer, the lap record holder here at Hallett out of Bethany, Oklahoma.
Several of the turns here at Hallett are where you're familiar with the banking that you might know about in NASCAR racing. Here at Hallett, it's actually a negative banking. It's leaning out, so when you're trying to go around that corner very fast, the track is wanting to slide you on off to the outside, so it really makes you work a little bit harder.
Keith Sharp from Kirkwood, Missouri, holding on car 80, 32-year-old Keith Brewer.
Brewer raced motorcycles for a long time and is a sports promoter out of Bethany, Oklahoma. Raced motorcycles for about 8 years before moving to the Spec Renaults, and he said that really gives him a little different angle here, knowing what he has to do to running a good, smooth lines and keeping a good, clean race, but still having a feel. These cars are so evenly prepared. They all have the same engines and the same tires, essentially the same chassis. There are some minor adjustments that you can make to them to make them different, but this is designed to be a Class 4 driver against driver rather than a race car against race car when you might get into a dollar spending contest.
It's a $3,000 purse at this 25-lap Pro Spec Renault Top Gun Shootout. The winner receiving a third of that, $1,000 for first place and 4 new Bridgestone tires.
Many times when these racers are on the track, Don, they're out there for the pride, to win, for the competition. Not a lot of prize money or contingencies there, but today they're really going for some cash.
We understand car number 20, 39-year-old Larry Flowers out of Olathe, Kansas, nearby Kansas City, is having some problems on the track. He's in his first year of racing, and so a lot of these guys in their first year will have some problems as compared to the better drivers, the veterans like 20-year veteran and the leader Keith Sharp or Keith Brewer. Here's your look at Keith Sharp.
In third place back there, Rick Houston. Notice his car is painted like the Texas flag. He's Rick Houston from Houston, a long tow. If he can finish well up in there in the money, it'll make a lot shorter tow back home to get back to Houston.
Part of the Butch Harris racing team. There's your first and second place cars in this Pro Spec Renault Top Gun Shootout. And you see the skies here at Hallett and beyond. And it's looking toward western Oklahoma. It's been overcast most of the day. In fact, as we finished up the last race, The sun almost appeared. It's brighter now than it ever has been, and darn if it didn't start sprinkling right before this race. And now, I believe the rain has let up.
There is some tread on these tires. They are Bridgestone tires, specified a size and rubber compound for the Class Don. But though they have tread on them, they are shaved down. The quicker tires won't be. They put a brand new set of race tires on there, though they're not racing slicks, as some of the viewers might be familiar with. They still have tread on them, but they will shave all but just a little bit of that tread down to get the better grip, so you won't have the squirm that you have with full treads on the tires. I would imagine most of these drivers went out on these shaved tires, not on their rain tires that have deeper tread and could dissipate some of that water.
Out of turn 2 and 3, there's a good shot of Veronica Lake, as it's known here at Hallett.
Have turtle wander out of that lake ever so often. They have on this course. They're always concerned about turtle safety at Hallett, and I believe today we haven't had any incidents. Motorcycle racers were always very concerned.
I can imagine. Number 1, Keith Sharp, having no problems whatsoever in leading this race. We're on lap number 5 of this 25-lap race. Again, $1,000 for first place, $600 for second place, and the second place car right now is car number 80, 32-year-old Keith Brewer. We're coming back to Hallett when we continue with Miller Genuine Drafts, checkered flag. Car 6 there, Rick Houston in third as they head down the front straightaway, getting ready to go into turn 1. In fourth place is car 21. That's a look at Chuck Gillis. Right behind him in car 23 is John Bowden. Bowden is from Acapulco, Mexico. He's a 10-year racer, and he's battling. Right behind him is a rookie, Adam Burney, 00 from Tulsa, last year's Rookie of the Year. So you got a rookie in car 00 battling a veteran like 23, John Bowden, who says his other interests besides racing are topless women and homemade beer. And I would imagine that J.B. Haney also has those same interests, and I imagine he and John are exchanged some stories in the pits. We'll have JV interview the winner of this race when we're done.
Adam Burney getting off the track there. Got into the rub strips and into the tire walls at the bunker there where the corner workers watch what happens. So Adam looks like he's okay climbing out already, but he is into the tires.
Boy, I tell you what, when you get off the track, get off this track, and you're going at about 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, as he probably was, you can see the disgust that he has, because he was in 5th place and headed into some pretty good money. When you go off the track like that and head backwards, it's an eerie feeling, because you don't know what you're going to run into.
It's down in turn 6, Don, just ahead of the Cannonball Baker Straight. So Adam, no doubt thinking exit speed, wanting to come out of that turn and head down the straight at good speed, but just a little bit too fast. And one thing, when you have the rain conditions as we've had today, and that's a little bit damp out there in the grass, you'll slow down when you're sliding on the pavement. As soon as you hit that grass, it can feel like you're accelerating the car. Of course, you're not going any faster, but it feels like your speed almost picks up as you see those tires getting real big.
As I mentioned, had the chance to race out here, I messed up right around in turn 6 and turn 7, out of turn 6, as he just did, as Adam Burney just did, and was spinning into the grass. That was probably as much fun as anything racing on this course, was going through the grass, spinning around. Of course, when you do that, you're thinking, oh gosh, I hope I'm not going to flip over, and then you realize that these cars are pretty safe. And if you saw the Rick Mears crash at Indy, it just goes to show you how much advancement they've made in the safety of these cars.
And even in the Spec Renaults that we have here, with the mass that you have around you there, fairly heavy fiberglass bodies on those there. When you have the bodies off, you can see that the tube frame is rather substantial. So though it is a single seat tube frame, fully blown purpose-built race car, still very, very safe. That was part of the design. You may even notice the dual loops in the roll bars. Those have been added by the rules later on. Some of the drivers were tall enough that their helmets didn't have enough clearance, so they required all the drivers to add an additional loop there to make it even more safe in case they would get on their top. However, you can see very tough to get one of these on the top. The very low center of gravity, very good handling race cars with plenty of brakes to use.
Pace car is out. We're under a yellow. We've got a problem here. They'll bunch up, so we've got a restart here when we come back.
They may want to clear up the Adam Burney situation over there before they let the guys go under full green conditions.
So we're halfway through this Pro Spec Renault Top Gun Shootout, $3,000 purse when we come back to Miller Genuine Drafts, checkered flag.
The Stevens Racing School of High Performance Driving here at Hallett. They use these Spec Racers, Sports Renaults, as their classroom cars. There is some classroom work, but they have the emphasis on being behind the wheel. We got to visit with Mike Stevens about their school of high performance driving based here at Hallett.
Visiting with Mike Stevens, the promoter here at Hallett. And Mike, when we talk about racing, we always refer to it really as a family affair, and that really is the case with you and your family here at Hallett.
Well, I tell you, all four of us are up to this thing in our necks. Connie pays the bills, keeps all the books straight, runs the store, and Shane does the crew chief situation, the operations manager. Scott runs one of the teams. So we're all in this thing about as deep as you can get.
And if promoting here at Hallett doesn't keep you busy enough, you have an excellent school of high-performance driving that has to take up a lot of time, also has to give you a lot of gratification.
Yeah, the guys, we've had three really excellent results with our students in that Dean Knight Jr. has the GT1 lap record here at Hallett. Keith Brewer owns the Spec Racer record, and he'll be in the Pro Spec Renault shootout this afternoon. And Don Ketter holds the Can-Am record. So only three types of cars we have, and all our students have track records. So we feel real proud of that.
And what a service you provide for people who want to get into the racing industry, and the fact that they don't have to buy a car when they come to your School of High Performance Driving. They come and you furnish everything for them. If they bang up a car, they're right back into another one learning, and that in itself is a great service.
Well, yes, a lot of people don't think of it that way, but if they don't have to have a tow truck and a trailer and tools and a race car, and they can just concentrate on learning how to drive the car, it's a distinct advantage because they can concentrate on learning instead of fixing. And that's the service we provide.
And Mike, not only can you teach people to drive here at Hallett, but you take it on the road. You go other places with it.
Right. If they want to run in Memphis or St. Louis or Topeka or Houston, wherever, we can just bring the equipment to those locations and put them in a car right there.
And a person who might be interested in driving, how do they get hold of you?
They can contract us at 2232 South Nogales, 74107, and the number is 918-583-1134.
And they give you a call or write you a card, and you'll set them up with all of the details and learning to drive.
Right. We can cover any of the questions they might have. We have a brochure and some pictures and so forth that kind of explain the situation.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Appreciate it, JV.
We're still under a yellow. The pace car about to come off. We're about to get underway. We're just past the halfway mark of this 25 lap Pro Spec Renault Top Gun shootout here at Hallett Raceway, located 30 miles west of Tulsa. There's the green flag. From the flag stand, we're underway. Now, this should really be interesting for Keith Sharp. He had a pretty good lead over second place car, Keith Brewer. It's a battle between those two for first and second. Number 6 car, Rick Houston, had third place all to himself, and then it was a battle for fourth place between two other cars, Chuck Gillis, 21, and John Bowden, 23, when 00 was battling those two for fourth place. Adam Burney, you saw, spun out in turn 6, and that was the cause of the yellow.
Chuck Gillis continues a good charge up from further back in the pack. He's realizing the distance between his position now in first place shorter than it's been in quite a while. He certainly doesn't want to drop back in and have a shot at more of that prize money. Paying deep in this field in both prize money and contingencies. So most of these racers will be taking something home.
And the first place winner takes home $1,000 and 4 new Bridgestone tires. We're working on lap number 15. Again, the weather, it was raining, and we had some great downpours this morning off and on throughout the morning, and it finally quit raining about an hour before we started, right at lunchtime after the practice and qualifying this morning, the practice and warm-up sessions. And you see Keith Sharp out of turn 11. In fact, all of them really hitting the edge here coming out of turn 11 there.
Using every bit of that racetrack, sliding out around there, trying to power to get a good exit speed out of that corner to head down the front straightaway. Topped out in 4th gear heading into turn 1.
Just off of turn 1, coming down the hill, picking up speed for turn 2, and then they got to slam on the brakes.
Looks like Houston trying a pass there, and he gets by. A new second place now. Rick Houston out of Houston, passing, we used a little bit of late braking there, getting into turn 2 and picking up that second place position.
Houston, 48 years old.
Brewer determined not to let him get away from him.
Brewer in second, or excuse me, in third place. In fourth place is 23, John Bowden, as he moves ahead of 21, Chuck Gillis. Gillis was ahead of Bowden for the most part up until now. So we've got a new change. We've got a change at the number 2 position and the number 4 position.
Yeah, Rick Houston took a hard hit on the bump strips there. You can see sparks coming from underneath his car. It's just a couple of inches ground clearance on these machines, and those bump strips better than 2 inches high, designed to do what they do, keep you off of them. But on that occasion, Houston, a little bit of fireworks as he tried to use every bit of that racetrack and then some. Hopefully he didn't damage anything to let him stay in the race.
There's a look at number 10, 26-year-old Jerry Dalrymple. He's one of the younger drivers in this race. Even though he's raced for quite a while, he's a student at the University of Nebraska of Omaha, out of Omaha, Nebraska. Number 10, Jerry Dalrymple. There's a look at John Bowden, 23. He's raced very well. 10-year veteran, 44 years old. Just ahead of car 21, Chuck Gillis, for that 4th place position. The money breakdown, as we mentioned, out of this $3,000 purse, $1,000 for first, $600 for second, $400 for third, and then fourth and fifth, $200 each. So regardless of how you finish 4th or 5th, it really doesn't matter, except that 4th place gets 2 Bridgestone tires and 5th does not.
Houston continues to charge. There again, we see him on the bump strips as he picked up, was in 3rd place for quite a while. Don now in 2nd place, and he's got his sights set on Keith Scharf out there in 1st. Looks like he may be closing in a little bit.
Looks like he's reeling him in, and Keith Scharf, who has led from green flag to lap number 17. That's what we're on right now.
In the qualifying race yesterday, Keith Scharf and Keith Brewer kind of made a Rick Houston sandwich out of the two as they finished there. Houston felt very good about his race. He hadn't raced at Hallett in a few years. It'd been a while since he'd been back, but obviously he's got the track figured out now. All he's got to do is figure out Scharf.
Coming down the front straightaway, 18 laps down, 7 to go for number 1, Keith Scharf out of Kirkwood, Missouri, racing out of the St. Louis area. The battle continues, and we're back to conclude this race here at Hallett Motor Racing Circuit for the 25-lap, $3,000 purse for the Pro Spec Renault Top Gun Shootout.
Miller.
There's a look at number 6, Rick Houston.
Got a new leader, passes Keith Scharf. Scharf led from the pole, qualified on the pole. Houston was 2nd, stayed back there in 3rd a while, seemed to be biding his time, and now not only passes him, he's putting a little distance in there, a couple of 3 car lengths.
On lap number 19, number 6, Rick Houston out of Houston, Texas, with the new lead. And we got trouble. Jack McDonald, we just talked about, off the track as we head into turn 2.
Backed it into the tire wall over in turn 2. Again, got off the track, hit the grass, didn't slow down a bit on that wet grass. Looks like he's out of the car and okay pulling his arm restraints off there, but certainly a little disgusted after running a good race up to this point.
McDonald, the defending season points champion, not having a great day here at Hallett.
Donald and Berryman, even after they both spun down there in turn 2, continued to race together there until then.
Car number 6, our new leader, 48-year-old Rick Houston. Here he comes. As we mentioned earlier, the color of the car and those Texas colors. Now, what's Keith Scharf thinking right here after he's led throughout most of this race?
Well, I'm thinking settle down, don't get too excited, don't try and do it all at once, just gather him in, close in as much as possible, and bide his time, wait for that opportunity to get back by. You can see, in fact, there, Houston sliding sideways, kind of dirt tracking it around turn 2, that hairpin. And it's, as he was sliding around there, not the fast way around the corner, Scharf able to close it up a little bit. So Randy Scharf wanting to stay close, waiting for a little bit of a bobble to get by, but realizing we're getting close to the end of the race now. Some body parts out there on the roadway. Number 13, Dale Newbern. Lost, looks like, the rear portion of the fiberglass off of his Spec Renault.
Now, what will they do here? Will they black flag or red flag everybody and
probably not
just continue racing?
They'll have a quarter worker go out there, and as soon as it's deemed safest for them to run out there and remove that from the track. There we go, the quarter worker to get that off. It's actually in the racing line, as you can see there. They'll put a yellow flag out, Don, on the corners before that to let the drivers know there is reason for caution. I don't think he's going to be able to slow any of those guys down.
No,
with
you
that,
see,
there.
Right, it's right over one of the hills, so that's a rather dangerous situation for that corner worker.
The yellow flag, not necessarily a go slow. The yellow flag is used caution, so they're not racing, no passing allowed under yellow. But they'll pull that bodywork off the track and get into the same position behind the tire walls. They'll pull the yellow flags and move back to racing track.
There's a look at car number 6. Rick Houston. Right behind him, Keith Scharf. It's a 30-year-old out of Kirkwood, Missouri, but right now it is Houston with the lead as he
in dirt tracked it around that corner again, and Scharf able to close it up. You want to keep these cars straight. You can go around a dirt track like that, but on a road course, you don't want to be sliding too much. Scharf, no doubt, seeing that and just biding his time, waiting for the right opportunity to slip past.
Very important to hit the apexes perfectly, because that's where you can gain some time on the guy in front of you. You gain a couple of seconds if that guy makes a mistake and you don't, going into one of these turns.
And with so many turns, left and right hand turn, you want to hit the apex right, hit the turn correctly, be set up for the next turn. Even if you get through one okay or get by with getting a little bit out of shape, you may be out of shape for the next turn. You're going to lose speed and possibly position.
Saw car 21, Chuck Gillis, moving in. He's run a very good race. Chuck out of Tulsa. 5th year in the Pro Spec Renaults after racing karts for 7 years. We're on lap number 22. We got 3 laps down. Can Rick Houston win this thing after Keith Scharf relinquished the lead 3 laps ago? As we take a look at car 5, Terry Lewis out of Lamont, Oklahoma. And that Stevens racer spin out.
Looks like Terry was able to get it stopped before he got to do any damage to the car, so he may be back with us before the race is out. But right now, it's Scharf right on Houston's tail.
We're going to come back for the conclusion of this 25-lap event as we continue with Miller Genuine Drafts checkered flag. I believe it is 23, so just a few more laps left. And car 6, Rick Houston, continues. Car number 1 right behind him, Keith Scharf, who relinquished the lead a few laps ago. And you see Houston's really opened up a lead, not so much in what Houston done, and I think it's what has happened to Keith Scharf a little bit.
Scharf had a little bit of trouble with braking there, locking up the back tires. The bias maybe not set just as he would like it on that car. Of course, they're racing not just for 1st and 2nd place or that Top Gun title. There's $400 a difference in the cash contingency between 1st and 2nd place. But really, I don't think they're thinking about the $400. They're thinking about being the Top Gun. Got some lap traffic. That may be a factor indeed, as your leader, Rick Houston, passes number 16 there.
That's Ed Brett. He is from Tulsa. First time at Hallett. That's got to be a thrill. Your first weekend at Hallett to race against guys like Rick Houston and Keith Scharf, some of the others.
Well, Houston got by without much problem. We'll see if Scharf is able to pass with equal ease. Looks like he may be getting held up there a little bit in that part of the course, so Houston may be able to work the traffic to his advantage.
And then Houston just on the bumper of Keith Scharf, and then after they had a yellow in which everybody bunched up and went about 4 laps, that was when Houston, after another lap, he made his move and overtook the leader, Keith Scharf, in turn 2.
Houston has settled down there. We talked about him dirt tracking earlier, but there we saw him go around very smoothly around that corner, and Scharf not able to make up that ground as we saw early on. So though he can still see Scharf in his mirrors, though.
We're close to the finish here at Hallett. Our last race of the day. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. And we'll continue with our checkered flag series throughout the summer. Not only we hope you caught our World of Outlaws edition on the dirt tracks at Tulsa Speedway. We'll continue the rest of the year with more American IndyCar series here at Hallett, June 20th, 21st weekend. So we invite you to come to Hallett, located 35 miles west of Tulsa, for some great IndyCar action.
Terry Lewis there, number 5, realizing these guys are racing for it, so he moves over and lets Houston pass, and Scharf now looking to pass. Another spin by 16.
50-year-old Ed Brett. Again, this is his first weekend here at Hallett. There's the checkered flag for Rick Houston. 48-year-old from Houston, Texas. The last 2 years has been the Southwest Division champion out of the Texas region. And a great race. Rather crafty as he overtook Keith Scharf after a yellow. And they both give the waves, and a competitive wave to each other. Is a nice race between those two.
Excellent sportsmanship displayed there. Both those gentlemen know they have been in a race, but in racing the gentleman's sport. Scharf with good sportsmanship pulling up alongside Houston, saying good race. We'll see you next time, no doubt. Hoping to make this an annual affair here with the Top Gun shootout at Hallett Motor Racing Circuit. This is the first year for this size of prize money for these racers. Hoping to attract, there are over 600 of these machines out there, Don, that have been sold through the SCCA around the country, 600, 650. So the cars are out there spread all across the nation. And Mike Stevens hoping next year to get more of these in for this actually well put together event. Just a beautiful venue for racing here, family atmosphere, excellent track, excellent facility, and a nice place for spectators to come out, and they can move around the track and watch a different corner every time they come out.
Indeed. They can come out, bring their charcoalers, and sit out in their lawn chairs and enjoy lunch and watch some great racing here at Hallett. And it was a great race performed by number 6, Rick Houston. When we come back, we'll visit with the champion in just a moment.
This guy was a loser.
Having here
Hallett in the Pro Spec Renault event. And hey, Rick, a great race you drove, but it looked like that you were beginning to close the gap on about lap 15 when the yellow came out, and then from that point on, it was all your race.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. The car was a last-minute change from wet setup to dry, and I was running out of time before the race. And Keith Scharf, who was leading the race for the first half, his crew came over and helped me with the last-minute adjustments, putting everything right. And on the false grid, I still had forgotten to change the brake bias. And Midwest Sports Racing, Steve Finsky came over and adjusted that for me. So we started the race, and the car was right, but it was a matter of feeling out just how fast you can go through the corners, and it was starting to rain. And so I was kind of taking it easy for the first couple laps until I knew what the limits of the car were. Keith is one of the fastest guys in the United States, and I didn't expect him to fall back. You know, I expected him to go off and run, but I was hoping to reel him in as the race progressed. He finished second at the runoffs last year, so anytime you can run with him, it's a real feather in your cap. The race, I felt like I was closing up on him, but then when the yellow flag came out, it made my work a lot easier.
Well, I noticed that on the winter stand that you were visiting with Scharf there, and that's kind of unusual, maybe that you're that close, but you were needling just a little bit, weren't you?
Oh yeah, old age and treachery, you know, over youth and skill. But Keith and I have known each other for about 4 years, ever since I started racing this class, and we met in Memphis a long time ago, and we've been running together for 4 years, and usually he gets the better of me, but today it was my turn. You know, my wife Susan was a major factor here. She was helping with getting the wrenches and holding this as I was adjusting it. Usually Butch Harris Racing comes with us, but it was a little far for just one car for the crew to come up. So I said, look, you guys, set the car up, and I probably won't need to do anything, and if I don't, you know, we're down the road. And so we did have to do some things. So we were scrambling, and fortunately a bunch of people chipped in and helped us. And Susan talks to me on the radio and gives me the lap count and lets me know how fast I'm going compared to everybody else, which helps. It let me know I was catching them. So when the yellow flag came out and I was able to close back up, I felt confident that once the green came back out, I'd be able to reel them in because we'd had maybe 10 more laps to go.
Congratulations again, Rick, on a great win here at Hallett and many more.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the crew at Butch Harris Racing for setting the car up so well from when we came up here. And, of course, everybody here has been a tremendous help, and Bridgestone Tires for their continued support of the class.
Rick Houston, your winner here at the Pro Spec Renault event at Hallett. Driving car number 21 this afternoon here at Hallett and finishing 5th overall is Chuck Gillis. And, Chuck, you prepared your car for a wet track this afternoon here at Hallett, but it didn't quite turn out that way. Maybe you can explain why.
Right, JV. Well, yesterday in qualifying, I noticed that my engine was losing power. It's leftover from last year, and we haven't had a chance to change it yet. And set the car up running for the wet, and when I noticed it was going to be a wet day on Sunday, I was pretty happy because I figured that was going to be the equalizer for everybody. Got the car running good in the wet, and figured that as the track dried out in the afternoon that it was going to start raining when the temperature dropped, and so I told the crew to leave the rain tires on it and leave the bars real soft, and hopefully we'd be able to run some of or all of the race in the rain today. As the race progressed, sure enough we went to the grid and it was misting, and I was hoping if it at least did that I could stay in the hunt. Ran right behind Rick Houston for the first third of the race or so, and he was the eventual winner, and he was really slowing me down. We couldn't quite catch up to the leaders. About lap 6 or 7, the track started to dry out, and I started to slip back, and I knew that my choice was the wrong choice for the day, and I just needed to stay on top of it and try to do the best I could. As Rick pulled away, I don't know exactly what happened, but we had a yellow flag, and that closed the pack up and gave the tires a chance to cool down. And once again, as the leaders pulled away, I managed to tail with them for a few minutes. And as we got into the last 4 or 5 laps of the session, tires started to get hot and get heated up and started getting greasy out there, and they just pulled away. And so I was real happy to finish 5th for the day, considering that on equal terms yesterday, the best I could qualify was 7th.
Miller Genuine Draft's checkered flag has been brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. By Hallett Motor Racing Circuit, home of the Stevens School of High Performance Driving. By Big 4 Service and Supply, your one-stop filter shop. By Creek County Speedway, the place to race. And by Lady Godiva's, the best little dance hall in Tulsa.
Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
Nothing starts more trouble than dirt. And no air filter stops more dirt than Fram.
Oh, no!
Oh, yeah. Fram, the end of the road for dirt.
To get your Fram filters for any filtration need, high performance automotive or industrial, call Big 4 Service and Supply toll free at 1-800-USA-BIG-4. That's 1-800-872-2444. Big 4 Service and Supply, your one-stop filter shop.
So thanks to J.V. Haney, and a great win for Rick Houston. And it was interesting that I thought we were going to have 3 races where all 3 were wire-to-wire winners, but Rick Houston really ran a great race, reeled in.
When the time was right, Rick Houston able to move in. Also want to mention that the rain held off today after it looked rather bleak this morning. A few sprinkles during the race, but nothing that even got the racing surface. The racing line stayed dry, and wound up with an excellent day of racing here at Hallett.
Well, we'll be back here at Hallett in June 20th, 21st weekend for the American IndyCar Series and more Sport Renault action. We hope you will join us for that, as well as more open road racing here as we continue with our summer series of Checkered Flag. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. For J.B. Haney and Neil Kennedy, John King inviting you to join us again next week for more racing on Miller Genuine Drafts Checkered Flag.